I'm excited to finally be discovering the game Azul. It's been on my list for ages, and finally, I'm giving it a go through Board Game Arena. Check out my first game here on Legendary Tactics. So I should correct my earlier statement. This isn't exactly my first game of Azul, but this is my first against a competitive opponent. And so here we're going to get going with our first turn, and my opponent has chosen the I call them the snowflake tiles. I don't know what else. I don't know if these tiles have names. I'm so new to Azul, I don't know. But I'm beginning to learn the strategy, and I'm really realizing that columns are very key and likely one of the more straightforward ways to reasonably score points. You can go for colors as well, but that's going to be a little bit trickier. I find in general, but columns are certainly something to aim for. So I'm going to pick my first tiles, and I'm going to take the two blues and drop them in, mainly because it seems like it's an easy early pick, and I like picking in the middle rows because it's more likely they're going to be adjacent to other places. My opponent then chooses the double I don't know. I call them the chocolates, but I don't know if these are the official names. So the dark chocolates, and puts those there. Now, I'm assuming that my opponent knows more strategy than I do, and it's very interesting to see these choices. I guess it's planning for when we're picking up tiles off the factory floor, not wanting to get stuck. So as this is an early game, I just take my easy orange there, and my opponent is the first to take tiles off the floor and completes the first row there, the four space row. So I'm going to take the 3 red and complete the 3 red. I figure, hey, if I'm completing tiles every time, then can't be totally wrong. The last table is taken. The last I don't know what from the factory, I guess, the manufacturing bed there, and the one snowflake is taken to complete that row. So that's really good, and I can see why it's generally better to fill the bigger rows early on in general, because you may end up getting stuck and having to just drop these in where they're unlikely to score. So we end up with the 2 snowflakes in that section. My opponent completes the oranges. I take the 1 tile here. I'm counting these out here to see what's going to happen. 1 tile is there, and if you look, it's actually pretty close, but my opponent has done a very, very good job at filling in those first 4 rows there. Look at that. That's beautiful. And I'm going to end up taking a hit on the victory point side of things. So we're going to score. We have 1 + 2 + 1 + 2 -1. So that's where we're at. Let's see how this scores. And unfortunately, a lot of my tiles were separated, so it's 5-3. So definitely not a bad spot to be, although I am a tile behind, and his tiles are much closer. So my opponent takes the double blue there, and interestingly fills in that the 3rd row. So that's interesting. I decide to take the 2 orange and do something very similar, trying to pick up quality play here. My opponent takes the 2 dark chocolates, goes into the 5th row. Interesting, because that's going to be a play for next round. There's not enough of them here, and I decided to finish off that row there. Now there's way too many snowflakes in the on the floor there. I don't want to have to take those. And the blues are also dangerous because I have the blue already done on the 2nd row, so this is going to be a bit tricky. Fortunately or unfortunately, my opponent takes the snowflakes and completes the 4th row. So I take the 1 red and complete the top red there, which should be okay, I think, as a move. And we got the 2 red there, then 2 orange. Got lots of orange scored this particular round. And my opponent has to take blue, or chooses to take blue. It's kind of an interesting choice. Did complete the row, but at the cost of 3 victory points to the negative. So I'll just fill in 1 dark chocolate and hope for good numbers the next round. And we'll score this. You got 2, 5, and 6. Yeah, you can see how grouping those together has really, really helped. But I'm not doing too badly. I've got, I'm still a bit behind here, but I'm still only 3 victory points behind. So my opponent quickly grabs the dark chocolates that are there. I'm going to take the blues and fill that in. That should be pretty good points filling in the 3rd row. And interestingly, my opponent takes the dark chocolates and takes the victory point loss. And I really have tried to take my tiles not from the factory floor. So my opponent was usually the one getting the penalty for the the negative for the first, taking the first player tile from the factory floor. So I'm trying not to let that happen. I'm going to take blue there, and we've got to make sure we're very careful here to manage this. Now, again, my opponent takes the first player tile and fills in row 3. So definitely going to be a bit challenging here. I fill in the 2nd row, so I feel like I'm getting a little bit better, but now I'm in a bit of trouble for this last this last go. But I think my opponent's going to take the blues, and does. So my losses are going to be minimal here. I'm going to take the 1 snowflake and leave the 2 red for my opponent to drop into the penalty boxes, which is perfect for me. So, but there's some impressive scoring coming up here, especially as my opponent's completed a column, which is not good. And I saw this kind of move happening, and I thought, oh boy, I gotta make sure I gotta make this up. So I do have a good chance of completing my column in the center this particular round. So my opponent grabs the reds, drops those in the bottom row, looking again to complete the column, I believe. Probably snowflakes might have been a better call. They're available. Anyway, I just take the snowflake to finish off that row, and I leave the 3 on the factory floor. Unfortunately, my opponent grabbed them. I was really hoping I could get away with that at the cost of a victory point to finish off my row, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. So I take a snowflake to finish off that tile in the 1st row, and my opponent finishes off his red amount there. I'm going to take the dark chocolates and make sure to finish that off next round. And interestingly, it's really interesting to play. I don't know how good this player is, but it's interesting to see how fearless they are about taking the penalty victory points, especially in the first 2 boxes. I'm terrified of losing any victory points if I can, possibly avoid it. So here again, I'm going to take the 3 snowflakes, throw those into the 3rd row. Definitely getting a lot of snowflakes filled in this round, and the 2 oranges go into the 4th row there of my opponent, and we're going to score. And again, really nice scoring there. Sets up another column to be completed, and I'm doing okay, but definitely falling behind. Actually, it's closer than I thought, though. When I actually looked at the score, I thought I was well behind. It's 38 to 37, but I would say with the completed column, perhaps 2 columns, ready to be finished off. I really need to to pick up my game, but I just probably won't have enough time. I'm probably going to have to see what points I can still get. So the double orange finishes off the orange there, that orange row. Then I take the the dark chocolate. I'm not going to let that one go. I wish there was more of them so I could maybe look to complete the 3rd row there for a couple points, but my opponent does the job for me. And we're now in the last round of the game, as the last tile in his middle row is going to be completed. So now it's just about scrambling. There's no way I can prevent that second column, unfortunately. So it's just about scoring as many points as I possibly can here. And there we go. That's probably the move that will win the game for my opponent. I'm going to place 1 on the top here to complete a row, just a couple points. I'm going to lose, unfortunately, I'm going to lose a point on that one, but I'm going to see what I can pull off here. And the snowflakes on the second row are done. Now, just watching again this game, it's really nice to see the how my opponent fills in all the rows. It's actually really nicely done and very, very intelligently done. Even if there's a few victory points lost because of extra tiles, I have to say it's a really good really good thing. So I'm going to take the 3 oranges, bit of a gamble, see if I can finish off that last row. Unfortunately, my opponent saw that, took the orange from me, and so we're down to the last few tiles, which are all just going to end up in the penalty row there for both of us. So nothing too exciting, but we'll look at the final scores here and see how those ended up. And some very good scoring here. Very good scoring. And finishing with a score of 60. And I'm at 51 here with 5. And I lose 4 points. Now, unfortunately, this is where I really lose with the columns there. There's 14 points plus 2 for the row. I've only got the 1 column and 2 for the row. So unfortunately, I lose this game 61 to 76. But I thought I did learn some really great principles of play. And I hope you did too. It's just, if you watch a game being played by a solid player, you can see how everything fits together. And you look at the board. My opponent's board is actually pretty full. A lot of those tiles are down, and you can see it's very well played. So anyway, I hope this little walkthrough of this game give you a good idea if you haven't played Azul, how the game works. If you have played Azul, maybe it gave you some good strategy ideas. I know I'm learning a lot, and I'm really enjoying this game. So give it a try if you haven't given it a go. It's very easy to learn, and kind of one of those easy to learn, lifetime to master games. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is NATO with Legendary Tactics.